Hello friends, welcome back to Health Week. I'm super excited because today is going to be an important topic that we're going to talk about, stress and stressors. You know, in Australia, there has been a research done in 2015 and it talked about that more than 35% of Australians were suffering significant amount of stress, and it had been increasing in the last 5 years. Now, I can only imagine if they were to do another research of the same sort, what would be the results after this pandemic and the days and the certain days that we're living with a lot of financial stressors. Actually, when they looked at all of the possible risk factors or things that accumulate stress in people, finances is one of the tops. I am actually feeling very relaxed today, but this week there were a few days that I felt stressed out. And it's okay sometimes to feel a bit of stress. It's not a problem. The problem is when the stress is being constant and it's a part of it's getting on your way of you feeling well and your well-being. So tonight we're going to be learning from a doctor expert and the creator of the De-Stress program that is available on aliawellness.com, Dr. Luiz Fernando Sella. He's going to talk to us about stress, how it affects our body and our health and our well-being, and he's going to give us practical strategies on how we can actually cope with it. So stay tuned. Before we go into the health talk for the evening, I want to introduce to you two friends of mine. I met them recently when they came to one of our Sozo Health Retreats program. And I'm talking about a mother and daughter, Petra and Rose. They came in two different programs at first, and they are lovely, lovely ladies. They had some very ambitious goals about how to improve their health, and I'm very happy to say that they both worked very hard, they were focused, and after the program they have kept all of the principles that they've learned, and they have some great news to share with us tonight. I hope it inspires you. Welcome, Petra and Rose.
Hi, my name is Rose. I've been part of the Live More Happy project, which has made me try new things, like memorizing positive quotes, starting a gratefulness journal, enjoying a sunrise, and spending time in nature. Eating a whole food plant-based diet, especially with 8 cups of fibre every day. This journey has increased my fitness, healthy eating, and most of all, my positivity towards life. I am grateful to be part of the Live More Happy project.
Hello, my name is Petra. I've been asked to tell you a little bit about the Zozo Health Retreat and my lifestyle transition. So in the beginning of my change of lifestyle, I still didn't know exactly how to eat whole food plant-based at home or when I was out at restaurants. The thing that made all the difference was coming to a Zozo Health Retreat. eating absolutely delicious meals, and the key was learning how to prepare them myself and coming to the realization that it is something that I can do. I have lost 18 kilos eating whole food plant-based. Zozo has taught me how to think about food differently. I tell people I am on the eat more, weigh less diet. It's what I choose to eat. I look at food and think, is this going to nourish my body or cause some issues for me? Am I putting the right fuel in my body? I wouldn't put the wrong fuel in my car, so why would I do that to my body? It's a choice. My doctor has taken me off my blood pressure medication after being on it for about 10 years. My cholesterol is now in the good range, and the best thing is I feel better and I can do so many more fun things. While I was at Zozo, I felt supported and cared about. Nothing was too much trouble, and they went out of their way to help each and every one of us in whatever our needs were. Even though it was educational, they made it a fun learning experience for our mind, body and spirit. This is an experience that will stay with me for life. Thank you so very, very, very much.
Thank you so much, Rose and Petra. I know that you have an inspiring story. It's obviously we are limited with time here, and I actually want to take this time to acknowledge all of my friends this week that have taken the challenge of sharing a little bit of their story and their journey on whole person health with us. And I want to thank them, not because they only share their story, because sometimes it takes guts to come in front of an audience and that you don't know and share it, but because they actually recorded their own videos. And I have to say, I'm not the most technological person. I have been somewhat struggling this week on going live with you. But I try to think that I'm amongst friends, so it makes it easier, and I definitely enjoy it. But I know that for some of you, it was a big challenge. So I want to really thank you for each person that prepared a video, shared a story, a testimony of your journey, but also the presenters, the health professionals that are also my friends, and I'm lucky to call them my friends, that attended my last minute request to put these beautiful presentations together and coming up with an amazing presentation. Now, lastly but not least, and I think it's most importantly, I want to thank my team behind the scenes. We have communications, Enrique, Juliana, Martha. They have been amazing on pulling up this amazing program for you, and I hope that you're enjoying, and many people are going to be able to watch this because of them. So I really want to thank their talent, their disposition, and their commitment to make this happen. I also want to thank, as I said before, in the beginning of the week, Diana and Rihanna. They're part of my team at the Health Department of North New South Wales Seventh-day Adventist Conference, and they're not only volunteering 1 year of their lives as professionals, but they also believed in the vision of making this Health Week week happen for you. Thank you so much, team, for everything that you've been doing. Now, let's go to our health talk. And I want to introduce to you my other good friend, Dr. Luiz Fernando Sella. Now, Dr. Luiz is a medical doctor in Brazil. He's got many certifications and board certified. He's got a master's of public health with major in lifestyle medicine from Loma Linda. He's been on the Mayo Clinic to get a specialization on tobacco cessation. He's also board certified in endocrinology, metabolism. It's a long resume. Over the past 10 years, he has been dedicating in helping people to heal and to adopt a new lifestyle. He has experience working as a medical doctor of lifestyle centers and health retreats. As a matter of fact, he was one of the leading medical staff from our team that actually put together the Zozo Health Retreat program, the main program. He's married to Dr. Daniela Cano, who's also been essential on the programs that we've been putting together here, and his right arm. And he's also a lifestyle medical physician in Brazil, and he runs his own practice. they have together a beautiful, beautiful ministry called SOW, SOW, which I invite you to follow on the social media, and they offer a lot of tools on how to improve your well-being. Now, without further ado, I want to bring in Dr. Luiz Fernando because he's going to talk to us about stress. What's so important to learn about stress, but most importantly, knowing that the vast majority of Australians today, and we could be included on that, are suffering from stress. How can we de-stress? Welcome, Dr. Luiz Fernando.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Health Week lecture to empower whole person health. I'm Dr. Luiz Sella. I'm a medical doctor. I specialize in endocrinology and lifestyle medicine, and I'm filming this lecture all the way from Brazil to help you better manage stress and boost your immune system. I hope that this information will help you achieve optimal health and get prepared to face this COVID-19 pandemic. And tonight I'm going to talk about how to deal with stress and how stress can affect our immune system. So it's very important that we understand the concept of stress, how to better manage stress so we don't experience the negative effects of stress on our immune system. Well, we all have some degree of stress in our lives. Some people are just much better at coping with stress than others. So all of us have the same physiological response to stress when we face a threat. If you're alive, you have some degree of stress. I used to play that only the dead people and the rocks don't have any kind of stress in their life. So if you're alive and if you are living in these times, you have some degree of stress in your Let's start with a definition. What is stress? Well, stress is your body's reaction to meet a new situation or to meet a challenge. It's your body's response to deal with problems that take you out of your comfort zone. So, stress can be caused by things that we call stressors. And stressors are events or circumstances that demand a reaction, something that challenges you, something that is real, like a real threat, but also a stress can be an imaginary thing. Sometimes in our minds, we create stressors where there are no stressors at all. Because as human beings, we like to suffer by anticipation and we like to always expect the worst. Isn't that right? Well, stressors can be negative or positive. Negative stressors include the loss of a loved one, going through a divorce, losing your job, incurring in debt, or even the feeling of insecurity and fear. All these negative experiences can trigger the stress response in your body. But we also trigger the stress response when we face some positive stressors, like a job promotion. Everything is going okay with your career, you have been promoted, now you're going to be a manager or a director of a company, and then you're going to have things that are more difficult to deal with. You're going to have employees underneath you, so it demands you a lot more in terms of reaction, so that creates some stress. Organizing a wedding party, building a house, starting uni, throwing a party or planning an international trip, all these things can trigger the stress response. Well, what happens when we experience these kinds of stressors? So each potential or actual threat triggers in our body a cascade of stress hormones that will produce a well-orchestrated physiological change that in medicine we like to term the fight or flight response, that actually prepares our body to adapt to that particular circumstance. So this response actually provides the energy we need to meet real threats and challenges of life. In this response, the brain perceives the threat and releases a hormone called ACTH that travels all the way to our adrenal glands, which is a pair of glands just above the kidneys, to release the stress hormone, mainly adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. So these hormones will now travel through the body in our blood circulation, and they will produce several adaptations so we can deal with the stressor. So what happens is that our senses will sharpen, our blood pressure will rise, our heart will beat faster, so we can have more oxygen being pumped out of our hearts. Our muscles will tighten so we can have more power and energy to deal with this threat. Glucose and fats are released into the bloodstream to supply the energy we need to either fight or flight. And also our lungs will breathe quicker, taking up more oxygen from the air outside. So all these reactions are actually preparing our body to face this challenge. Well, this is actually something that is very useful to us. This is something that was designed in our body to help protect us and give us the energy we need to survive in times of stress. This has been researched in animals. This book is a very interesting book. I recommend that you read it. It's called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And it was written by Dr. Robert Sapolsky, which is a neuroscientist from the Stanford University in California. And he has been studying zebras and baboons amidst African safari parks for a long time. And what did Dr. Robert Sapolsky see in these animals? First of all, let's say you're a zebra, and then you just, you look to your side and you see that a lion is running after you. Well, for a zebra, that will trigger the stress response. This stress response is very short. It produces a lot of stress hormones in the zebra's circulation. It is very quick. It may last maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and then it will go away as the zebra perceives that the lion have quitted, is no longer chasing her. Well, that kind of stress response is very, very important for survival. After 3 minutes of screaming terror, if the zebra was able to run away, stress response will shut down and the zebra will continue her life as if nothing had happened. Well, so we can say that for zebras, the stress response was episodic. It doesn't happen 2-3 times a day. It's not every day that a zebra is running away from a lion. It will happen, very occasionally. It was quick, 2 to 3 minutes, and it was useful because it saved her life. Well, for us humans, stress can become chronic, long-term, and harmful, because we are exposed many, many times a day to situations that will trigger the same stress response that the zebra triggers when she's running away from. So Dr. Hans Sally, which is a pioneer author in the stress science, usually says that chronic stress that human beings face are caused by traffic jams, work deadlines, tight schedules, bills to pay. So we see many things in life as threats, and then we answer to these kinds of threats with the same stress response as a zebra. And right now we are facing difficult threats as well. We're facing the COVID-19 pandemic. Some people are losing their jobs. Some people are facing the stress of social isolation. Some people are afraid. They are, have fears that, they will eventually get this disease and, have the worst outcome possible. So we are always facing new situations that will trigger this stress response. Well, stress is actually bad for us, some degree of stress is actually beneficial. When we feel a little bit of stress, we can finish a difficult project or we can juggle with a tight schedule. So moderate levels of stress will actually increase our performance and efficiency up to a point. If you have nothing going on in your life, if your stress level is really low, you're gonna have this feeling that you're not doing that much at all, and that time is passing by and you're not, producing anything, you're not going forward in your life. So as stress levels will increase to moderate levels, we're gonna find this optimal point where we have optimal performance and efficiency. That means that everything that is going on in your life is under control. You have the resources you need to meet all the demands. You are feeling productive. You are feeling energetic, and you are, on top of everything. If, however, stress levels go up a little higher, then you might start feeling a little anxiety. Is everything going to work out? Am I going to meet that deadline? Will I have money to pay all the bills that are coming? So then we start feeling a little anxiety. And if stress level goes still higher and for a long period of time, then all this stress response that releases energy in your body will actually drain your energy, and you're gonna feel what we call burnout. Burnout is when the excess energy that is required by your body eventually runs out, and then you have no more energy to draw from. And then some people at this time will feel, very, very depressed with low energy levels, and they will have, real physical and emotional problems. When stress becomes chronic, we can face symptoms and diseases. Dr. Herbert Benson from Harvard University studied stress response a lot, and in the United States, he says that 75% of all medical consultations are related to stress. Stress was either the cause of the complaint that motivated the patient to see a doctor, or stress was aggravating that complaint. And what kind of talking about? There are many health problems linked to stress, from allergic skin reactions to emotional problems like anxiety and depression, gastrointestinal problems like constipation, irritable bowel syndrome, metabolic problems like diabetes and heart disease, musculoskeletal problems like pains and aches in your body, and even problems with your immunity. People under chronic stress will experience a lower immunity and a greater likelihood of developing infectious diseases such as the colds or the herpes. Why is that? Well, as we mentioned, when we are under stress, we produce the hormone called cortisol. And cortisol is a hormone that is produced by our adrenal glands, and it will act on our leukocytes or white blood cells in our blood circulation. What happens is that when we're exposed to cortisol for a long period of time, we're going to have a malfunction of our immune system. So when people are exposed to chronic stress, they will have low immunity against infections, bacterial or viral infections, for example, and sometimes they can develop flaws in their immune response, like allergies and autoimmune disease. So chronic stress needs to be managed if we want to have good immunity. It's very important in the times that we're living, when we're facing a new viral infection that we don't know that much about it, that we have a strong immune system, and for that happen, we need to better manage stress. So the thing is, how can we better manage stress? We know it's impossible to sidestep all sources of stress in our life. We cannot erase all sources of stress, but we can learn how to perceive and how to handle stressors differently. In general, we say that stress is experienced when there is a demand-resource imbalance. So let's say you have too much going on in your life at this time and you feel you don't have the enough resources to meet those demands. Well, you're gonna feel a lot of stress. Sometimes we do have a lot of things going on in our life, but we have all the resources we need. And when I say resources, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about emotional resources. I'm talking about social resources. I'm talking about intellectual. I'm talking about knowledge, abilities, tools that you have learned in life to meet the demands that come towards you. So we're going to feel a lot of stress when we experience there is a demand-resource imbalance, or when we perceive we don't have control. Perceived lack of control is a great source of stress, especially for those people that like to have everything under their control. So when they face something like COVID-19 pandemic, that they have no control whatsoever with what's happening outside in the world, they will feel a lot of stress. So in summary, big challenges and little resources available to meet them will mean higher stress responses. Small challenges, big resources available to meet them will result in a low feeling of stress. So to better understand how we can manage stress, we're going to use the analogy of the stress bucket. So imagine you're a bucket and the amount of stress you have in your life is the amount of water inside this bucket. The size of the bucket is your ability to handle stress, also called resilience. We know that resilience is partly genetically determined, but also we can develop resilience and we can increase our ability to handle more stressors. The demands or stressors that you face are like small drops of water that goes inside the bucket and will increase your stress level. And then also we have outlets or strategies and tools that we have to manage our stress and let some water go outside of this bucket and reduce our stress levels. So let's start by talking a little bit about resilience or our ability to handle stress. So adopting a healthy lifestyle is really one of the best things you can do to improve your resilience. So when we exercise regularly, when we eat well with vitamins and minerals that will support our brain function, when we sleep well, sleep restores our brain, when we spend time in nature with fresh air, sunshine, and all of these things will help our brain to get more prepared to face a challenge. If you haven't been exercising, if you're only eating junk food, if you're not getting adequate sleep, when we face a challenge or a threat, you're not going to react the best. You're not going to be able to meet those demands. So when we sleep well, when we nurture our brain with all the vitamins and minerals, the fruits and vegetables and cereals and legumes, the nuts and seeds and everything that our brain needs, when we exercise regularly and we improve our circulation in our brain, we're going to meet stress with a whole different perspective. I also want to say that drinking lots of water and staying hydrated is very, very, very important. Water intake will stimulate your blood circulation. It will remove toxins from your body. Living in a state of chronic hypohydration or dehydration is also a chronic stress for our body. Our body needs to manage all of its functions without water. It's just like living inside your house without water or with very limited amounts of water. That creates a lot of stress for the family. So the Australian recommendations are that adult men should drink at least 10 cups of water a day and women about 8 cups. So that will replenish the water you need to satisfy body needs. I also want to counsel you to cut down caffeine because, as we said, stress will release stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline. And caffeine does the same. When we drink caffeine, because it's a stimulant, it will increase the production of this stress hormone, and this will potentiate the stress response. So cut down on coffee, black tea, green tea, white tea, any kind of tea that is caffeinated, and also cola drinks and energy drinks. It's a good idea to reduce your stress level. Well, second, let's talk about how we can limit the demands and how we can actually control a little bit more the amount of water that goes inside the body. So, are you feeling overloaded? Is that too much things going on in your life at the same time? Well, it's very important that you set boundaries. It's very important to set boundaries and to learn how to say no. Some people are just overwhelmed with too much going on in their lives, and then some people will come and ask for help or will share a problem, and these people that are already overwhelmed will say yes to everything and will help out everybody, and sometimes they will get even more stressed. So we know that in times of trouble, in times of a pandemic like this, we have to reach out to people and help them. But if you have too much going on in your life and you feel that you're losing control, you don't have enough resources to meet your demands, just learn to say no and just be true to people that you can't handle things anymore. It's also important to establish priorities. We don't have to do everything at the same time. Some people want to get married, build a house, start a new job, have a child, travel internationally, and and get a doctoral degree all at the same time. We don't have to do that. We can do one thing at a time. Some things we have to do now, some things we can do next month, and some things we can do next year, and some things we don't even have to do them. We can choose not to do some things in our lives. It's also important to learn how to delegate. If you have too much going on, if you think you can't handle it anymore, ask for help. Just identify people that are willing to help you and just share a little bit of your responsibilities and accept that people will not do exactly like you would do because they are different. They are not you. But with time, they can learn how to do things in a way that will be satisfying to you. It's also interesting that we need to be able to transform negative thinking into positive thinking. Sometimes the demands we have to meet are not real, they are imaginary, and we create these negative demands, we create problems where there is no problem. So sometimes if you're thinking, wow, I can't do this, you can change your way of thinking. Well, I will do the best I can. If you're thinking, wow, everything is going wrong in my life, you can think, I can handle this if I take one step at a time. Or if you think, I hate when this happens, you can think, I know how to deal with this. I've done it before. It's not the first time. So sometimes we can practice positive self-talk on a daily basis in the car, at the desk of our work, before going to bed. It's a good way to try to see things from a more positive perspective. That will help us to handle stress. And I'm going to talk a little bit before we finish about the outlets. So what do we do when stress levels are going up? First of all, what we shouldn't do some people use negative strategies to handle stress. The first one is denial. Everybody's saying that you are under a lot of stress, that you are being irritable, that you are screaming at people, you're not being yourself, but you deny. You say that you're okay, but everybody's saying that you're not okay. So the first thing, we shouldn't deny. If everybody's saying something that you're not all right, you're not yourself, just pay attention. You may be not seeing the real situation. Some people will start taking pills, medications, and even drugs to try to alleviate stress. During the COVID-19 pandemic, there's been an increase in the amount of medication for anxiety and for stress. Some people will overeat, so they are at home, they are under stress, so they might get some pleasure by overeating, eating too much fast foods, fatty foods, sugary foods, chocolate, and they might gain weight, and that can even lower their immunity. And some people will just, drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes to try to release a little bit of stress. The bad thing about these strategies is that, first of all, they will be a further stress for your body. Your body now have to take care of this excess fat and sugar and alcohol and smoke. So that's an extra stress load. And they will not solve your problem. They will just increase your problems. Well, another better alternative when we are facing a time of stress is to seek support. We have the fight or flight response that we mentioned, that we release adrenaline and cortisol under times of stress. But researchers also found that we have a tend and befriend response, which involves the release of a different kind of hormone that we call oxytocin. And oxytocin is a hormone that creates bonding between people. It's produced a lot when a mother has a child and needs to bond with that newborn child. So it's interesting that after September 11 terrorist attacks in the USA, people felt the need to reach out to friends and relatives in the community to assure themselves that loved ones were all right, to comfort the distressed or bereaved, and to shore up social networks. So connecting in this way actually helps to reduce stress, as opposed to just, staying home and watching, Netflix or the news with all of these bad stories that are being on television. So the tend and befriend reaction involves the release of this positive hormone called oxytocin that will actually do the opposite of the stress hormone. So if you are under stress, reach out to people, call your friends, call your families, try to stay connected, even if you are feeling a little bit socially isolated at this time. We can also develop some positive attitudes that will help us to reduce our stress levels. For example, compassion, gratitude, acceptance, and forgiveness. If someone did something that you are not feeling all right, you're maybe feeling a little bit angry, well, anger will create more stress in your body, so practicing forgiveness is going to help you. If things are not going your way and things are not under your control, practicing acceptance can help you to better deal with stress. Even if you're facing a lot of struggles, there are still things that are going on okay in your life, and you still have reasons to be grateful for. So try to find reasons to be grateful. I want to share an example that happened to a man called Matthew Henry. He's an English philosopher and theologian that back in the 1900s had his wallet stolen. And, meditating on what happened, he said, well, let me be thankful first because, I was never robbed before. Secondly, I'm going to be thankful because although he took my purse, he did not take my life away. And third of all, because he took everything that I possessed in that wallet, but it was not much inside. So I still have many things in my life. It was not everything that they took away. And lastly, I want to thank you. I want to be thankful because I was robbed, and I was not the person that robbed someone else. So even when we are facing challenges, we can find motives or reasons to be grateful for. We can always try to find the upside when things are not going our way. Before we finish, I just want to say that you can also learn to relax using your five senses. Our body was designed to offer us a quick relief when we are under stress by stimulating our five senses. So, for example, to stimulate your vision, you can, go to nature, you can go to the beach, and you just watch a beautiful sunset that will help you to relax. You can also look at pictures of loved ones and family members. You can stimulate your hearing with some relaxing music. You can stimulate your skin with a hot bath or a massage. You can stimulate your taste with a calming cup of tea like chamomile, for example. And you can also use some aromatherapy with lavender essential oils that have been proven to produce relaxation. So when we smell lavender essential oils, we have some volatile compounds that we breathe in, and this will produce a relaxing, calming effect on our brains. The same Dr. Herbert Benson that described the number of medical consultations that are related to stress also wrote a book called The Relaxation Response. And in this book, he mentions that when we do things like progressive muscle relaxation, when we do deep breathing exercises, or when we are in prayer, for example, we can do the opposite of the stress response. Instead of activating our sympathetic nervous system to release adrenaline and cortisol, we can actually activate the opposite system, which we call the parasympathetic system, that will produce a feeling of relaxation. So if you are under stress, just go to some place calm, close your eyes, just relax for a bit, and start breathing deeply. Just inhale, hold it for a few seconds, and then exhale. And as you do this, try to see if there's any place in your body where you are holding a lot of muscle tension, and just try to release those muscles that are feeling tense at this time. If you do this for a couple minutes or even 5 minutes, if you can, you're gonna feel a decrease in your stress response, and you're gonna feel a little bit more relaxed. Let's just relax a little bit. Let's keep our faith up. Let's, get connected to our God, to our higher power, and let Him command our lives. And let's just be happy, relax, keep the mind positive, and then help those people that are in need. Well, I thank you so much for your attention. If you want to know more about health and wellness, you can visit the website eliawellness.com. You have many resources available for you out there. Thank you so much, and we hope that the knowledges that we imparted with you tonight will help you to live more happy and to be more positive and better manage stress. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Luiz Fernando. It's been such a pleasure to learn more about how can we deal with stress. I actually was thinking about it must be a little bit stressful to think of what am I going to start? What can I do first to improve my well-being? And I hope that this week has helped you to find out what are the dimensions that you need to work on first. If you're still not sure which ones that you want to start with, because I would not recommend you to start all at once. So yes, it is a whole person health approach, but you can find out which dimension you can give a priority to and start step by step. So I want to remind you that we're offering a free personal wellness snapshot, and you can take that at the end of our presentation. There will be codes that you can just take a photo, or you can just go directly to the link and have your personal wellness snapshot done. And you'll be able to see what are the areas that you're doing well and what are the areas that you need improvement. Now, you might be thinking, this is all great stuff, but I don't have time. And as Luis said at the end, it's relax and be happy. We all want to be happy. And you know why? Sometimes when we think we don't have time, we have to think again, because research has shown that people that are happier and they're feeling well, their well-being is really high, they are more productive as well, even up to 30% more productive. And they make more money as well. So guess what? I'm sure you and I can take time to invest in our wellness today, in taking one step at a time. Now, I don't want to forget to offer you your free gift for the night. And it will be that you can sign up for free to the De-Stress course that was put together by Dr. Luiz Fernando, and it's available on LA Wellness. Usually, this course costs $25 per person, and this time, and it's entirely online by the way, this time we're offering for you for free. And not only that, you will have the support of my team working with you and a group that will be doing that together online. And so I would tell you, don't turn away this gift. Make sure that you put some time to go to the link and get signed up, and we'll be in touch with you and tell you when we're gonna start. And I hope that you enjoyed the presentation tonight, that you can take some of these tips and put into practice in your life. Now, talking about where to improve, as I shared with you in the beginning of the week, I know where I need to improve. One of the areas in the dimensions of wellness that I need to work on, it's the physical exercise. Be more regular, more intentional about my physical exercise. And even though I am almost 20 weeks pregnant, there are still some safe exercise they can do. So tomorrow, I am excited to hear from Leah. She's going to be our guest speaker, talking about the benefits of physical exercise, but most importantly, how can we start? How can we take easy steps towards success when it talks about physical exercise? Because let's face it, even when you think of the word exercise, you might be saying, oh no, please don't tell me about a gym. And I know myself that I love being outdoors and I love being with friends, and I do like to be active. When I think of exercise, I don't like just the fact that I have to do it somewhere at a certain time in a certain way. But it doesn't have to be that way. So tomorrow, Leah is gonna share with us, and I'm very excited to hear from her. And we'll have, as always, a surprise story of somebody who's done really well in whole person health and wellness, and is going to share with us. Thank you for being with us tonight. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you tomorrow.